Welcome to Storytime with Story. My name is Story, and we have our producer, who's usually side beside me, but behind camera today, Myrna. So if you hear a voice, it is not God, it is just Myrna. Our show today, this is our first ever podcast, pretty big deal here, podcast show is whatever we're calling it. Okay, so what we're talking about today is Eliza Rose and the Heritage Christian video that she posted I think it was like 2 weeks ago or something. She did mention a story in the video that happened in my class, actually. I literally witnessed it with my own eyes. So we'll talk about that story and just kind of everything that my experience was like at Heritage and what I dealt with there. But yeah, so, quick, life updates. It's been pretty crazy. Myrna and I were actually going to get the, Johnson & Johnson vaccine on Sunday, but then she had a bad feeling about it. So we ended up not getting it. And turns out, thank God we didn't get it because they shut down all the testing for the J&J vaccine in California now because of blood clots. So that's great. Even though the CDC says it's fine and safe, reality, you'll probably grow a third eye if you have the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. To get into the Storytime segment, basically Eliza Rose, she's this YouTuber who, she's like a young YouTuber, not really famous, but she's a YouTuber. How we have a connection between her and I is she went to the same school I went to. I used to attend. But what is the school? What is Heritage Christian, you may ask? It is let me pull up the bio of Heritage Christian. I thought I had it up on my notes, but I don't. Heritage Christian is a school that goes from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade, senior year of high school. Discover Heritage Christian School, glorify God, disciple students, pursue excellence. As one of the finest private schools in the United States, oh no, they quote them as that. Heritage Christian School desires to partner with Christian families to provide a Christ-centered education. That's Heritage Christian School, based in Indianapolis.
Basically a private
cult school.
Private Christian school on steroids.
Yes.
Turned cult.
So that's what Heritage Christian is. Now, what's the story that I keep mentioning that Eliza Rose talked about? Well, the story is the summer of going into my freshman year, 8th grade at Heritage does this summer trip to Washington, D.C. It was super fun. And that's kind of when this whole thing kind of started with my fellow classmate and my teacher, my history teacher. So they developed this relationship on this, it was like 10-day trip to D.C. And I thought it was a little strange. So I started talking to my mom about it. And my mom was just like, no, everything's fine. Like, it's just a mentorship. It's fine. So I was like, okay, whatever. Well, then, October rolls around of my freshman year, and that's when things start getting a little stranger. Like, where my classmate is lying behind my teacher's desk.
Let's do a timeline. So they go to the Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
trip.
go to Washington, D.C. trip. That's
summer?
end of May.
May, okay.
End of May.
They said teacher and student, who, by the way, student was in what grade?
We were upcoming freshmen. So we just completed
grade?
8th grade.
So how old is that? Like 12? 13?
14.
14? Okay. So 14-year-old and
47-year-old teacher. End of May, they developed this relationship that I thought was a mentorship. Mm-hmm. But it seemed a little further than just mentorship, if you know what I mean. Summer passes and they keep going with this said relationship. And this relationship turned into, a
teacher
more
takes
relationship
of student.
Yeah, more of a romantic relationship by October of my freshman year of high school.
So it's been like 6-7 months.
Yeah.
And they're still going at it.
They're still going at it. And in October, then that's kind of when I noticed is that, she was laying behind his desk during class, and I always thought, I was like, that's a little weird. And I started, I just kind of was like, whatever, like, it's fine. Everyone does it, everyone does it. And then there was a day where, we're turning in our homework, and I pass it forward, and then all of a sudden, our teacher comes out and asks for my classmate's homework, and my classmate just says, I don't need to turn it in.
The classmate having the relationship with him?
Yes. when I mention classmate, that is the only classmate I'm speaking of, is the classmate and the teacher. So the classmate says, no, I'm not turning it in. And I look at my classmate. I'm like, hey, like, you can't talk to our teacher that way. Like, you can't just say that. Like, you got to turn in your homework. You can't, you got to. And she turned around with me. Like, she turned around and looked at me with the utmost confidence. And I'll never forget it. And she said, he's not my teacher. And from that moment, I was like, okay, things are weird. This is past mentorship. This has gone to weirdship. So I mentioned this to my mother. I'm like, hey, Mom, this is going on at school. What do you think? And my mom, being like, just being like it's so crazy that you would think that this would happen at a Christian school anyways, because everyone is supposed to be this disciple of Christ. So like my mom was just like she couldn't process that this would be happening. So she just kept going, no, it's fine, stop, it's fine, it's gonna be okay. This is just like they have a unique thing, they have a unique relationship, it's okay. And I was like, all right, they have a unique relationship, all right, I guess we were just doing that. Then I would say 2 months passes from October, and then my teacher disappears. He stops coming to class. He doesn't show up at school anymore. We have this new substitute teacher, and I'm like, this is weird. He comes back literally a month before spring break. So I would say February, he comes back, and it's only for a week. And then he vanishes again, and then we go on spring break, and then bam, news breaks that said classmate and said teacher were having this romantic relationship, and this teacher was obviously he's 47, she's 14, you think he would know better, but he's taking advantage of this 14-year-old, and another teacher walked in on it to figure it out, because there was a recording sign blocking the window so that no one could really look in to see what's going on. But I guess he fondled her and touched her, but there were these said love letters that Eliza touched on. And these love letters, Eliza mentioned that were only one-sided, but I do remember being told that there were a couple love letters that came from said classmate. But also this said classmate was 14, didn't know better, was looking to this teacher. He should have known to keep his hands to himself.
So how did this perfect religious school handle the situation that was happening?
So the next day, or when we came back from spring break, that Thursday back from break, every Thursday we used to have chapel. It took like an hour and a half of our morning. We would have chapel, sing songs, have something like that. But this chapel was certainly unique, as it was structured and designed only around the situation that happened in my class with my teacher. So it was, if you need a therapist, if you need to talk about it, if you need, whatever, just on that Thursday was the only day you were allowed to talk about it. Every other rest of the day moving forward, no one mentioned it. No one talked about it. If you brought it up, it was like, oh my gosh, like, how dare you talk about it?
It's a trend at the school, huh?
Yeah.
Anything bad happens,
Definitely
it's like, never happened.
Never happened. Don't talk about it. We spent a chapel day on it.
Poor 14-year-old is traumatized for life.
But the great thing is, she never acted like anything happened. She came back to school. I would have moved freaking school. Everybody knew who she was. I would have left the freaking school. She came back, and kudos to her, because she pretended like nothing happened. It was amazing. I was shocked. And then the kicker is the teacher had a daughter at Heritage who was a year above me, and she stayed at the school. I know it's not anyone else's fault other than this man's, but dang, that's a lot to take. So, that was a whole ordeal, and no one ever talked about it again. That's not the only weird thing that happened at the school. Well, with me personally, like I said, the school struggled deeply with, equality and for everyone. It's basically was a predominantly white school.
They were racist, they were homophobic, they were sexist,
yes.
They were all the ists.
They were all the ists. And I'm not going to touch base on it. I'm just going to touch base on like my personal experiences at Heritage. Third grader. This is just touch base on how they don't really view mental health and disabilities or anything as let's help the children. They're just like,
they don't exist
and God will take care of it. So in third grade, I would lose I have attention deficit disorder, and I've struggled with it since, however long. And we would have reading class time. Well, if you lost your track, like lost place reading, like I'm losing track of my thought, but if you lose track reading, you would get a mark on a bulletin board that has like your names on it. You get a mark. And if you get 3 marks in the same week, you would have to run or walk laps during recess.
I have a question. So they punish people that don't do their work. Did they ever reward people that did their work?
No.
Oh, so they're just punished.
Yeah.
So you could do all the reading in the world, nothing would happen, but if you missed a few things, you'd get punished.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, yeah. So, I would misplace. I would just lose my place in reading. So when it came to my turn to read the line, I wouldn't know where I was at. So I'd get marks. So I got a lot of marks a lot. And I just remember spending my 3rd grade year running around the track during recess because I was so bad at reading, I guess. So I'm doing a lot of running and a lot of exercising during 3rd grade recess. So it wasn't until my 4th grade year that my 4th grade teacher actually sat my mother and I down and said, hey, I think Story might have a learning disability. You should go to the Child Resource Center and get her tested just to see. And so, found out later, attention deficit. It was just figuring out I had a learning disability, and a teacher taking it upon herself and going, oh, wow, like people don't learn the same. So
what happened to that teacher that figured it out, though?
She got fired the next year.
So the one teacher that had your back, that didn't just ignore things.
She got fired.
She didn't follow the cult rules.
She didn't follow the cult rules. Did not follow the cult rules. So she got fired. And that was, she was my favorite teacher ever. We move up a little bit and we go to freshman year. Freshman year is when things were really weird at Heritage for me. And I had a new golf coach, and I was on the varsity golf team. And we were heading to golf practice one afternoon after school. And we were on the bus heading there with our golf coach, and he turned on country music. And if anybody knows me, knows I hate, no offense to anybody who loves country music, I personally just hate it. So that was the only type of music our golf coach liked. So he would blast it, just blast the country music. And I'd just be like, and so basically he starts playing the song, and it's called She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy. I think that's what it's called, right? Yeah. Something like that. But the chorus goes, she thinks my tractor's sexy. It really turns her on. That's just the chorus. That is what someone wrote. I didn't write it. I didn't create the song. Someone else did. So I was singing this song, and I sang it a little bit louder than I probably should have. And I came to, she thinks my tractor's sexy, and I just really went for it. I really went for the chorus. I sang it too loud, and as soon as I said the word sexy, the bus, it's like we hit, brakes, like, eek! And so we're all like, whoa. I had my fellow teammate next to me who said the word sexy as well. And so our golf coach tells myself and my fellow teammate to get off the bus, and we're like, what? So we get off the bus and he starts screaming. He's like furious, and he's like, how dare you say the word sexy? I can't believe you, blah, blah, blah. And ever since that day, he treated us like we were just crap. And I went to our athletic director. I went and I told everybody, I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. They looked at it and laughed at me like I was freaking insane. They're like, well, you shouldn't have said sexy.
You should have followed the cult rules. You ignore things. If the word sexy's on the radio, you just ignore it. You just stop. I'm like, what the heck?
He's talking about having sex with, we were listening to a song previous about having sex with your cousin. That's okay to listen to, but there's God forbid we say sexy.
There's no way there's a song about that.
Oh, country music has songs about cousins and beer
what kind of country
and
music are they
lakes and that's country music for you.
Okay.
I have a feeling a lot of people listen to country music at this school.
Oh, it's very popular. Very, very popular. Heavily listened to. But, so then, it goes from that. Then, this is the best part. Dress code. So there was a new pant policy we had to follow for my freshman year. Again, freshman year, things got weird. And I have certain tics when it comes to clothing and fashion. Like necks on t-shirts have to be a certain way for me or I lose it. Feelings. I have a really weird thing when it comes to certain how things feel. Myrna can vouch for me. It is very hard to buy clothes for me.
OCD to the max.
Yes. And it's very hard for me to find clothes that I'm willing to wear. I'm more like sweatpants, sweatshirt, baseball hat. Like I'm good to go that way. You can't do that in a school uniform or a school dress code. So finding khakis for me was a challenge. And of course, the only place that had khakis I liked was J. Crew, which is, very expensive. We find my pants. We find them. They're baggy on my legs. I hate baggy pants to begin with. Like I love, unless they're sweatpants, like they gotta be, I love, my Gen Zers hate those skinny jeans, but I love them. So I'm sticking with my skinny jeans. But basically, we finally found these pair of pants. I wear them. I wore them for like the first week of school and there was no issues. And they were like before joggers really came out, they were more like a female jogger, but they were just like a little bit tighter around my ankle. No one thought a problem because they were loose everywhere else. So like I was like, oh, that's fine. Well then, the second week of school, I'm wearing them and the dress code police stops me in the hall. And she's like, oh my God, Story, you need to go to the office right now. You are really out of dress code.
You're a sinner.
Yeah, like you are out of dress code.
I can't even look at you right now.
Like it was bad. And I was just thinking, I'm like, how am I out of dress? Like I'm wearing a button up, like I have a collar, I have loose pants on, I look homeless. I'm like, how am I out of dress code? So I go to the office and they're like talking, they're like, cool Story. You see how your pants are really tight around your ankle? And I was like, yeah. And they said, well, you're making boys sin right now. And from that moment, I was like, I am losing this battle. There is no way I'm going to win this. This is going to be bad. So they said, you have one option, Story. You can either take a detention and wear your pants for the rest of the day, or you can put on some pants from Lost and Found. Who wants to put on what? It's a pair of pants, first off. Second of all, I get attention for pants because they're too tight around my ankles and I'm making boys sin. Just don't look at my ankles then. I mean, damn, my ankles must be popping if I'm making boys sin.
Some sexy ankles.
Like, geez, sexy ankles here. And then we got freaking... It's always the ankles. And then we got, them going, oh, you can wear some Lost and Found. Someone probably farted, peed. Like, that stuff never comes out of those pants. And so my mind, who already struggles with OCD and weird things with clothing, I have a mini panic attack because I'm thinking, oh my God, they're going to force me to wear, like farted in jeans. Like, I don't want to wear someone else's farts. Like, no, thank you. So I call my mom, single mom, full time. So I call her and I said, hey, Mom, I'm in the office right now. And they said I have to either take a detention or wear farted in pants that aren't mine. And I've never had my mom ever hang up the phone on me. And so she hung up the phone on me and I was like, oh, well, I guess,
I did something wrong
I did something wrong again. Here I go.
Ankles.
Literally, it was like 10 minutes later of me like just trying to get myself like mentally prepared to put on these farted in pants that are in the Lost and Found. And all of a sudden, like, my mom barges through the office doors and has all of my 5 pair of pants that we bought. And she throws them on the table and she's telling me, she goes to the office woman, she said, what the is wrong with my daughter's pants? Like, please tell me what is wrong with my daughter's pants right now. And they're like,
what? She said the F word.
They're like, oh my gosh, God. Jezebel came into our office. Oh my gosh. And they're just like, well, they are too tight around her ankles and they're making boys sin. And my mom literally, I've never seen her lose it like this. She was like, are you kidding me? Like, she's too tight around her ankles. And she's like pulling me up and like showing how baggy they are and like pulling, like, she's like, there is nothing making boys sin. She's like, if my daughter's ankles are making boys sin, then those boys got some weird freaking kinks that they got to work out because those are some fetishes there. And basically, my mom told the office ladies to F off that day. And the office ladies just said very calmly to my mom, I'm going to pray for you. And in Christian language, that's usually like F you terms. So my mom politely returned the saying and went, no, you're not. I don't want you to pray for me.
Please
no, thank you. Please don't pray for me. No prayers needed over here. And I left school that day, and then we just ended up snipping the jogger pants here, snipped them, and my grandmother hemmed them, and they were fine the rest of the year. Just hemmed that way. So my ankles were actually still showing. They were just a frilled, or what, I don't even know what you'd call that, like a popped, instead of like a jogger, more of like a, woo thing. That's what, like.
It weren't tight around your ankles.
It wasn't tight around my ankles anymore. It was loose around my ankles. So you could definitely see them. So like that was weird, like really weird at that school. And then, there was this kid who, again, things that aren't talked about. There was this kid, and he was in my grade, and this, he was a little different. I always knew he was different. All of a sudden, my freshman year of high school, freshman year, things are weird. My cousin, she was in the grade below me, and my best friend at the time, her sister was in the grade below us, and they were in gym class changing clothes one day and noticed some video cameras taping them. Well, these video cameras were taken out of our school's, IT department and IT class, which those cameras have serial numbers, which are connected to students at the school. So the video cameras were traced back to my classmate, and my classmate was just asked to leave the school, not to return. And it was never talked about ever again. No one ever talked about it. It's a theme at the school. No one talks about things that happen at the school. So, there was that. And then sex wasn't really talked about either. There were health classes we had, but it was more so catered around to, if you have sex before you are married, you will die, go to hell, and never find a person that loves you. That was basically it. Your husband or wife, if you have had premarital sex before you marry them, if they find that out, they will not love you. That is basically what we were told. That's basically our health class in Virginity Week. But it gets better. So we had Virginity Week. And that is where they gave you a piece of paper like this. And you have it for the entire week. And at each of your classes, before class starts, your teacher would tear off a piece of paper. And at the end of that week, you would be left with basically nothing. And that is what our teachers used to use and tell us as, do you want to be this little? Do you want, this is how much, I would have left at the end of the week. Like this much. And they would be like, is this how much you want to be worth to your husband when you marry him? Or your wife when you marry her? Is this what you want to be? To all of us. And we're like 8th graders going, oh my God, no, we want to be loved. We want to be loved. Oh my gosh, no, we don't want to be this paper. We want to be the full paper. We don't want to be this little paper. We want full. And that's what they would program into our minds. Not going, oh my gosh, sex and, is kind of like a healthy thing. But if you got to be careful and you got to do it right and you got to be smart about it. And, here is a list of reasons why you wear condoms because of STDs, XYZ, everything else, and babies and all the. We never, no one taught us how to put condoms on bananas. We didn't have that. We had pieces of paper being torn away and us being told that we're going to be worthless if we have sex before we're married. That was. What do people do instead? So people instead would have sex in the butt.
What? What the fuck?
I'm just saying people do at this school because that's what they're taught. They're taught that if they have normal sex, they go to hell, they're shameful, tons of shame. Shame is really, that should be in the heritage, it's welcome to Heritage Christian. We value shame. Like that's what that should be used. People who watched the Eliza Rose video, there were a lot of mean, nasty comments or different opinion comments. And, this is just my experience at Heritage. Like I said, it's a school. You're going to have, bad experiences everywhere. But this school definitely for me, it it did enroot a lot of issues. It enrooted for me, like, oversharing, because they, like, the school and teachers, like, wanted and had to know everything that was going on in your life for some reason. So, like, a lot of the kids that leave Heritage, I feel like, do suffer from, like, oversharing and shame. Big thing on shame. And definitely struggles. I feel like relationships, especially, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships, that, coming from a place or a school that shames everything and shames relationships, and it's okay to date, but, like, not really. That's hard for your development years to handle. So there were a lot of great things that happened. My 8th grade Bible teacher, he was amazing, and he still writes me happy birthday, letters and stuff. And that is, there's those little tiny things at that school that were still good, but now he's gone. I mean, all of the really good teachers that were there that wanted to help but never really could because they weren't allowed, because they were afraid of the cult cancel. Cancel culture was real at Heritage before cancel culture was real worldwide. Like, if you would do anything that Heritage didn't approve of, you're canceled, you're kicked out, don't ever come back. No one's ever you're excommunicated, basically. Like, you're never talked to by anyone else at Heritage. If you transferred schools, nobody would ever talk to you if they were still at Heritage. It was so weird. And so I left my junior year because of personal reasons and just things that I couldn't take in school anymore. So I left, and no one really talked to me still. Now people still reach out and things, but it was a really weird thing. It was really weird. And like I said, it's just like, don't ask, don't tell. Don't ask, don't talk about it. Just like, don't talk about it, basically, is the motto of Heritage. We just don't talk about things. Mental health, anything, doesn't really matter. That's not even the weird thing. The weird thing is the school's run by a CEO. Like, who has a school that's run by a CEO? Like, it's not a corporation. It's not a business. This is a school, like, where you go as a child to learn and to develop and to, feel like you're safe. That's not, like, a school shouldn't be run by a CEO. That's just bizarre to me. And, I have my own hiccups with the CEO, and so that I won't even get into. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, this is just my personal experience. I started this whole thing because I wanted just to share my experience at the school. Eliza Rose, she really did try to help, I believe, and she really did try to bring awareness to what everything was going on. There are people who said that the video that she posted was not super sensitive and facts weren't right, but, at least she tried, because that's the most anyone's ever really done, to try to tell what's gone on at Heritage. So I just wanted to kind of go there and back up that, say, like, kudos to her for at least trying. And I just kind of want to start this whole podcast, basically, just to start telling stories, but also to share my side of Heritage and what happened. But, enough of the Storytime segment. We're going to move on to the new movie and TV show Monday segment. Okay, so Tom and Jerry. Go. Hated it or liked it?
Absolutely hated it. It was so boring, and I'm so offended because that was my favorite show growing up, and they just ruined it. Ruined it all.
I agree. It was bad. Barb and Star. Hate or love it?
Loved it.
That was good. Clever, catchy, hilarious. I mean, anything with Kristen Wiig, you can't go wrong with. I mean, that girl is...
I love her. I love both the actors.
I would love to have a career like her. She's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Young Rock TV show.
I don't hate it, but I also don't love it.
It's a good family show just to watch in the background.
Yeah, it's a nice background show for sure.
Yeah, it jumps back and forth from like different times and everything. That gets a little confusing.
Yeah, nothing really of value happened.
No,
it's just
not really.
Like a background.
Other
show.
than that, he's doing. I think he's using this as PR to run for president in 20.
I would not be surprised,
something.
or like governor or something. Like that.
Yeah, definitely. Coming to America 2.
It's a tough one for me because I liked the movie. The movie was good, but compared to the first one, I don't know. Maybe it's just a nostalgic thing. Like the first one is so much better, but I don't know.
I thought it wasn't bad, but I've never even seen the first one. So like me not seeing the first one and saying the second one wasn't bad, I feel like I got some.
The first one was a classic. The second one will be a classic. Who knows? But
Probably not.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. The One TV show on Netflix.
I have no idea what's going on in that show.
I mean, you really gotta like focus.
Yeah, I don't.
It is a focus needed show. It is not a show to watch if you are under the influence of anything. It is not a show to watch if you are on your phone. It is a show to watch only if you are willing to open your eyes and just watch at the screen the entire time.
Which I do not want to do.
No, who wants to do that?
I tried watching it twice, and both times I'm like, nope.
Every 5 minutes you were asking me, what's going on? I don't understand what's happening. Story, what's going on? I'm like, how? I don't even know what's going on. Okay, Behind Her Eyes. You showed me this.
10 out of 10.
This is really good.
So good. I watched it twice. Now, the first few episodes are confusing, so just give it some time, and then it'll...
You just gotta get to episode 3, I think. Episode 3, middle of episode 3, and it's...
I mean, you started watching it at like the third or fourth episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was good. It was good. Must watch. And then I Care a Lot movie.
1 billion out of 10 would 100,000%
Favorite movie so
recommend.
far of 20... Did this come out 2020 or 2021?
I don't know, but we'll just say 2021. Favorite movie of 2021, because technically we watched it in 2021.
Yeah, we watched it in 2021. So favorite movie so far of 2021, I Care a Lot.
Yes.
Rosen Pike, girlfriend, I love you. Would love to be in a movie with you. You're crushing it.
Because she's totally watching this right now.
You never know. Okay, and final but not last, Bad Trip.
1 billion out of 1 billion I recommend. There needs to be a Bad Trip 2, 3, 4, 7, 8.
I mean, it needs to be a trip. Like, it needs just to keep going. A whole series of it because, I mean, Tiffany Haddish crushed it.
She was amazing.
She was hilarious. My favorite scene was when she rolled out of the prison bus out the bottom. And the guy was like, you
I mean, that was perfect. It felt almost staged. It was so perfect.
Oh, okay, and that 100%. I mean, that's where people need more movies like that.
Yeah.
100%.
Like a Borat type of situation.
Oh, yeah. But, so that's our, that was that segment. Basically for Wednesday's show, we are going to touch base on my roofied experience. Let me tell you, that was not fun.
The Los Angeles rite of passage.
Yes.
Welcome to LA.
Welcome to LA. You've been roofied. That's what we're going to talk about. Which nightclub it happened, possibly who it was with, the craziness that went down with it. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Storytime with Story. I'm your host, Story. Myrna is our amazing producer behind camera today. But we love you guys. Keep watching and tune in for Wednesday's Roofied Story.